everyone and welcome back to another Train Sim World roadmap video. This is as of the 3rd of November 2022. So there's a fair bit to actually go through. It's one of those really long roadmaps again, so we've got a lot to go through. This is a quick summary of the roadmap, what is in this one. So you've got the Birmingham Cross City announced coming on November the 15th. A new Dovetail Games US route has been added to the roadmap. A new Train Sim Germany route has been added to the roadmap. New Journeys add-on released for all players. First save game update released, so a significant improvement on red lights on resuming and dispatcher issues. First derailment issues update has been released, with more being worked on. Deep dive on auto testing and its application within our overall testing process. Batch of performance improvements coming in the next game update. The BR Class 20 is coming to the livery designer, and Union Workshop has joined the partner program, bringing their wealth of Chinese rail expertise to Train Sim 1. I think they also have done some Japanese routes on Train Simulator as well, so hopefully we'll see a Japanese route. Train Sim 3 is now available in the boxed edition on Game and Amazon. So yeah, that is just a quick summary of what we're going to go through today in the roadmap. So, the roadmap. So, welcome to November's roadmap. The nights are drawing in and the temperatures are dropping. But we have a warm blanket of an update for you to wrap yourselves in, as well as adding a new first-party American route, TSG's first route for Train Sim World. There's a whole host of new content, including a first look at the Cross City 323, let's see, updates on core improvements, a new member of the partner, pretty much what we just went through. So there's quite a lot to go through. So you should be able to see a first look of the 323 on the screen at the moment, and it looks good. So as well as modelling the distinctive look of the 323, we've taken great pains to source authentic audio, replicating the iconic sounds of the traction motors engaging and its unique whine. So we enlisted the help of one of our beta team who works for West Midlands Trains. We spoke to Daisy to find out more about how she's helped us with the Cross City route and how her unwavering help with sourced reference and sound of the 323. So what is your job title? I've been a train guard for West Midlands Trains for 7+ years, and my job involves opening and closing the doors at stations, checking that the train is safe to depart, dealing with the safe running of the train and the safety of passengers, and I also check and sell tickets and make announcements. What is your history with Train Simulator and Train Sim World? So I've been a beta tester since 2013 and subject matter expert, providing dovetail of reference and information for different routes to make sure we try to provide the best and most authentic experience for players. And by reference, what kind of things have you been able to help us with in the past? So I started helping out with reference trips back in 2020 when I went out and recorded the Bakerloo Line 1972 stocks whistle and one-person operation alarm. I own similar audio recording equipment to Armstrong Powerhouse, who I've helped arrange official access to some of our train care depots. I also helped get photographs of the class 465-9, which proved rather elusive when I tried to get the reference for the train art team. And have you been able to help the team with the Birmingham Cross City? I have probably been gathering reference for the route and train for maybe 5 years now. I even walked to the canal section between Bourneville and Five Ways 2 or 3 times in each direction. With the sounds, they were a bit trickier. The way to get sounds on the move of the traction motors is closely guarded secret, but I did go to Soho Depot a few times to get picture and video reference along with the static sounds required. And I brought a Victoria sponge cake for my friend and colleague Cliff, and we spent probably 7 hours getting all of the different tiny sounds a 323 can make. There are a few teensy things I wasn't able to record, such as the tiny quarter brake release sounds when the regen brake kicks in whilst braking, but that is not possible due to where the valve is and how much wind noise is present. But on the whole, Cliff and I managed to capture everything. And it's also worth mentioning there are 3 fans in the cab air conditioning, the main cab desk fan which blows around air, and the other cab is there's a recirculation fan to make sure there is a constant airflow to prevent condensation on the windows. As train crew, we can only control the desk fan and the AC, and the recirculation fan is constantly on. We've made a reasonable volume in game, but as we have to listen to up for 5 hours in one sitting, we thought we'd let you enjoy that same pleasure too. After recording the audio from the train, the hard part comes in. The audio team have been messaging me since way before the 323 began modelling, and we've had numerous calls to run through nuances of all the sounds they've been working on from the recording sessions. Trying to make a simulated train is no easy feat, and especially trying to get the audio to match up with something as difficult as the unique sound the 323s are known for. Some of the audio recordings were over an hour long, and trying to narrow down each little bit proved a little bit challenging at first, so I went through all the files and annotated what was happening at what timestamp to help the team further. I made little videos to demonstrate where certain sounds were coming from on the train, and hopefully what we've been able to achieve together will be appreciated. Soho Depot deserve a big nod due to how much access they gave me. Anytime I asked for something, they gave it. For the train art and setup development teams, that has been immensely valuable. Another nod should go to two of my friends and colleagues who I've been messaging at all hours to double check on performance and what should happen during X scenario. Having a real driver input alongside the train performance characteristics goes a long way. So, station reference was a tricky task. On my days off from work, I walked around every small part of each station, filming and taking pictures. 25 stations, which took around 30 to 90 minutes to walk around each, took many, many days. One thing is for certain, walking definitely helps with weight loss. And finally, do you have any shout-outs? So, first up, the train art and setup teams. They've been massively receptive to any feedback I've given them and have delivered probably one of the most interactive trains in the simulators so far. There are some bits and pieces which will leave you the player to discover through your own exploration or some scenarios. Next is station art. I've been talking to Mark, the lead artist for the Cross City. Since the route's inception for Train Sim World, we've been working closely on a lot, and he's been working flat out to try and get the stations looking their best. He's done an amazing job and has a good team supporting. Track and signalling. Track and signalling is a very underappreciated part of route development, and these guys have done a stand-up job. All the gradient, super elevation signal sequences are pretty spot on. We've actually set the route up a little into the future, because after December of this year, New Street Station's final signalling upgrade works should be complete, so we set up all of the signals and track speeds to what they will be in a month or so's time. Timetable and gameplay. The timetable engineer has listened to feedback and suggestions and taken pretty much every one of them on board. We are using a late 2019 timetable with the high frequency service the Cross City line is known for. And yeah, there's every sort of 20 minutes for a train to arrive. The reason for this slight mismatch in route and timetable is to make sure you aren't waiting. Yeah, so you aren't waiting for 20 minutes or so. The gameplay team have also been amazingly receptive to my personal experiences at work and have implemented some pretty cool scenarios. There's a lot more to do and to see on these scenarios than ones I've personally played in the past. And finally, a big thanks to the Daisy and the rest of the WMR team, who have been great to work with on building the route and providing an authentic and experience as possible for players. For those visiting the Wali National Model Railway Museum on November the 26th and 7th, we'll be exhibiting Train Sim World 3 with the Cross City playable in all of its glory. Lovely. So, Train Sim World 3 core improvements. A progress summary on the core improvements the teams are working on. This month we have updates on Save Game, Addons Manager, UI, Settings, Performance and Derailing. Wow, so Save Game update. Earlier this month we released the first batch of core improvements for Save Game, and this has had a positive feedback from players, thanks to everyone who has confirmed things are working for you since the update. We will, as a result, in a future update be looking to turn Save Game on again as the default option. There is more to be done, and these will be addressed on a case-by-case basis. When we have more on these, we'll update you, so lovely. And if you do experience an issue with the Save Game, do send it in to Dovetail, the Fresh Desk, submit a key. And then the Addons Manager. Testing will start on the Train Sim World free version of Addons Manager soon. Yes, it has taken longer than we would have wanted, and this is due to a number of factors. The team remain committed to getting it into your hands as soon as we can. As we know, PS5 players are playing add-on Tetris at the moment, are not able to get the full experience we want, and it's awful. It's not fun. In short, the infrastructure for Addons Manager can be ported directly from Train Sim World 2's version of Addons Manager, but there is an extra body of work which will help map that to the Train Sim World 3 UI, particularly the new menu screens you see not present within Train Sim World 2. That is currently being completed before being sent through to our QA and beta teams to review. We know this has been said a lot, but thank you for your continued patience. And as a side note, as we are all on using the same infrastructure, all mods that currently work since Train Sim World 2 Addons update should work with Train Sim World 3 versions of Addons Manager. And for the UI settings toggles, over the course of several updates we are continuing to refine the user interface for Train Sim World 3. As well as some of our longer term aspirations, in the next update there are a series of smaller improvements to help improve your experience. And yes, just keep sending us through any of your suggestions, which you can do on the forums. And then for performance improvements, we know good performance is a reasonable expectation for you when playing our games, so we'll be continuing to look at ways we can improve your experience going forward. As well as using auto testing to identify where the problems may be, in upcoming content, the engineering and special projects team are looking at ways we can optimize memory and performance for existing content too, and here are some of the areas we are currently investigating. So lighting on the AI double stock wagons causing big frame rate dips, which is annoying. Certain custom liveries causing frame rate issues, frame drops and stutters when first rotating the camera on a new route, back-end improvements for locos with complex physics, stalling when connecting long consists, and for Steam only crashing on exit. As well as this, we believe the Addons Manager will improve performance on those with lots of add-ons installed. It's not a game changer, but it should improve things. And as we continue to improve in performance, you'll find out in our release notes and future roadmap articles. Oh, another one. Derailing issues. A quick update on a series of distinct derailing issues we can see players experiencing. Since last month's roadmap, we've released the first of 3 potential improvements over the past week dealing with derailments whilst in motion. We've seen positive feedbacks thus far, which means we can move on to the second and third improvements, which will be longer term improvements. These will cover derailing when sharply braking and derailing when coupling. Once we've completed these, we will check for any further problems and address those on a case-by-case basis like save game. We want to provide core updates which we believe will fix most problems before targeting other improvements. And again, if there's any issues or anything, put it in the forums. So, special projects team update. Last time on October's roadmap, we told you about the preservation crew's team move to become the special projects team. Here's a quick summary of what they've been up to, as well as some more livery designer news. The team's focus is to target high impact and highly requested improvements for players from our back catalogue. So that would be the Brighton main line and fixing it. So Peninsula Corridor on Oakfield subdivision timetables, rebuilding all grade crossings on Peninsula Corridor to resolve reported issues, fixed middle threshold on introductions, minor tweaks to scenery around Cheyenne Turntable on Sherman Hill, and achievements not unlocking. And last month we also updated you on the progress of the HST going into livery designer, and here are some images of the testing so far, so you can see them on there. A bit weird the way the background's all greyed out, looks quite funny, doesn't it? And no Matt Pendletons were harmed in the making of the pink carriages. But we've also got something else for you to see. The Class 20 is also coming to the livery designer, and again you can see some screenshots there. Livery designer functionality has been added and has similarly passed internal review. You can see the current status in the pictures above. It's now with our QA team and beta testers, and we'll update you with more in future roadmaps. And Train Sim World 2 preservation crew updates. Finally, in this section, a quick review on the outstanding Train Sim World 2 preservation crew updates. We are targeting these in a couple of batches with the aim for at least one to be out this side of Christmas. And as ever, keep an eye on roadmap articles. And third-party developers, so the partner program update. Last roadmap, we added Rivet Games' upcoming route. More details will come in the future around what they are working on. This roadmap, we've added in Train Sim Germany's first route for Train Sim World. As with Rivet, you can expect more details in due course, but we are really excited to help bring their content to the game. In other news, initial work with the team at Alan Thompson Sim has been going well. At this stage, they are honing in on what content they'd like to target first, and are getting up to speed with our tools. So we wouldn't expect to confirm their first project for a long time yet. Finally, some big news. We've teased you last week that another partner was joining our ranks, bringing with them another country for players to enjoy. Well, we are delighted to announce that Union Workshop, after building a number of exciting Chinese routes for Train Sim Classic, will be bringing their expertise to Train Sim World 3. So yeah, hopefully we do see some Japanese routes. I don't think Chinese routes would really be ideal at this point, let's be completely honest. So yeah, hopefully we can see some Japanese ones. Would love getting on something like I think they did, they did a high speed line, I think, fairly recently with the Bing Bong train. So it'd be great to see some Japanese routes, not so much Chinese routes. Auto testing deep dive. Last month we promised you a deeper insight into the world of auto testing, a new tool we've developed to improve our ability to grind through large testing pools. We've asked Matt to put together a summary about what it is and what it will enable us to do, and what impact it's had on the Cross City, the first route that this has been used for. It's a long read, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. It's a long read. Very ready. Conventional testing involves following a sequence of actions and verifying the desired outcomes along the way, and conclusion at the end, such as playing a service or scenario. While this is a straightforward way of testing a product, it starts to become problematic as the number of scenarios, services and locos, plus the complexity of routes and signalling increases. You were not just testing 5 scenarios, you were facing testing 1,400 services, saving and resuming them at different points and trying to spawn on foot at different times in the day with 5-minute increments. That's up to 144 spawn points to make sure they work correctly. Throw in variable weather with a variable adhesion. On top of that, mix in 7 different platforms with varying sizes and shapes, and you're left what you're left with is a harsh reality that if you're going to do all of this by hand, then you can really do is pick a broad set of representative elements and do your best. The way to solve this is automated testing. Computers are great at winding their way through big tedious challenges constantly, overnight, all weekend, all month if you need it, constantly doing things until it's all done, and if you need it faster, just throw more computing resources at it. When combined with the human subjective element of testing it, it can prove a great combination. One area that we have been developing internally for some time now with a dedicated engineer is the area of automated testing. You can't just automatically test the sim because there's so many ways to play, different facets that need to be looked at. So one of the challenges has been breaking down the problem to get answers to specific questions or pick specific areas to get visibility, of which might then focus the development effort more usefully and efficiently. So far we have 3 different auto testing suites in operation, all very much under constant development because every question answered yields 2 more questions that need to be considered. So, Suite 1, Performance and Memory. We started this journey by wanting to understand the frame rate at all the different spawn on foot locations, so the first auto test process spawns in at each location, lets the frame rate settle and then captures the FPS, a screenshot and the free memory at that point. It produces a nice graph showing the change in FPS and memory over time, as well as we can see if there's been a sudden loss or gain, and the team can use the feedback immediately to understand if it's a recent change that has had a negative impact. As an example, on the Cross City route we've had a case where the frame rate suddenly went down a great deal on all platforms and all spawn points, in some cases as low as 2 FPS, which is pretty bad. The tool meant that in one test session overnight we could see it was not localized to one area and it was not localized to one platform, it was across everything. The team investigated and found a problem with some materials being used, and the next test run after that confirmed all the frame rates were back to a reasonable count again. This saved hours, perhaps days of testing that could have been used elsewhere, and the auto testing results of the FPS on the Cross City across spawn points on PS4, which you should be able to see on screen now. This also highlights another useful benefit of automatic testing: consistency. Every test, every day, every route, every spawn point on every platform, always the same test in the same circumstances, so any change can be fairly ranked against the previous values rather than being stuck in a questionable state where it might be different hardware or different trains loaded, or different things have been done on the computer prior to the testing. This way of testing eliminates all of that uncertainty, greatly speeding up the process of diagnosis. It is worth noting that at this point, for consistency purpose, these tests are conducted on platforms with no add-ons installed. This is something we'll be investigating in future. And in Suite 2, resource usage. The next challenge that was given to the auto-testing engineer was to try and understand what the complexity of the scenes were going to be, how many objects, materials, textures, polygons and so forth were all in the various 1 kilometre tiles that make up the routes. This was answered by the automatic production of a series of graphs and timetables, tables which show you where the busiest tiles and graphs the entire route, so you can spot any tiles that look too overpopulated. We've used this to identify where we can be more efficient with all these types of resource, sharing more materials, finding and removing duplication and so forth. All this helps improve that overall free memory count in the first set of the tests too, and more memory that's free after the route is loaded in means more trains can be loaded too. And you can see another screenshot from Southeastern High Speed. And it shows the highly populated areas of resources. The Suite 3, is this the last suite? Yes, service mode overview. The latest auto tester that we've developed is related to service mode timetables. During the development of a service mode timetable, the whole thing is run end to end in something called a timetable simulator. This runs the timetable many times faster than normal speed from start to finish and in its entirety. It can take 2 to 4 hours to run the whole thing, which is infinitely quicker than a human tester individually running those services. There are 2 goals from this. On a practical level, it saves out all of the data needed to allow the timetable to spawn in at any point, putting all the trains in the right place for that moment of time. The second goal is the degree of auto-testing in its own right, since this proves that all trains can complete their tasks and also reports how long trains spend at red lights and so forth. It's not quite the same as players running a timetable because we all drive differently, but it gives a good indication that the complete timetable should work, at least in most cases, regardless of how complex or how many services there are. Where we've seen challenges, however, is with the growing number of timetables, the growing range of locomotives that can swap in, and the strong desire to still go in and make improvements and fixes to core aspects of the game related to physics and the dispatching systems you can get into position that you're facing a 5-minute fix to the dispatcher that requires potentially months of free testing of all timetables to evaluate if there's been any impact. Sometimes there have been cases where even after extensive testing there have been side effects which badly impacted the timetable but were still not able to be spotted prior to release because it's simply impossible to retest all those timetables at this point by hand. And here comes the latest auto tester, whose sole job it is to simply run every single simulation timetable with the latest versions of code and trains over and over repeatedly. Once it gets to the end of the list of routes, it just starts again. So you can see another screenshot. As you can see of the timetable, while not all of the routes are in the test yet, we can see one has failed its latest run and we're not able to go and look at that in the logs and find out why. This means we're able to observe that a timetable somewhere in the game has stopped being able to be completed following a change, usually within 24 to 48 hours of that change going in, which is unprecedented visibility for the team to see what's going on, react to it. So what's next? We have many challenges for the auto testing environment and things are still in their early stages. One test system we want to implement would not just run the timetable from start to finish, but literally play every service from start to finish. Another would drive the route from end to end, recording a graph of FPS and memory to give even more insight into frame rate and RAM usage throughout the route and how they might be experienced across all the platforms, allowing us to find problems and optimize the sim with surgical precision. These systems take a lot of time to develop, but they are proving their worth and we are set to continue expanding their usage. So just a really basic sum up, Dovetail Games releases, you've got the cross city line, a German route, a US route and a US loco. Third party UK route by Rivet, German route by TSG, and the DBBR 420 by TSG for Munich Augsburg, which I'm pretty certain has been on the roadmap for about 2 years. Core features: Addons Manager for Train Sim World 3, derating improvements, save game improvements, red light dispatcher improvements, performance optimization, Michelinus, Train Sim World 2 and 3, rush hour passenger system for London commuter, and Spirit of Steam manual farming functionality. And I really want to see on the roadmap Brighton mainline fixes. Obviously, you saw their rush hour passenger system for London commuter, but there's still a lot of issues with the Brighton main line, and it's sort of one of those golden routes which can't just be left and sort of thrown and forgotten about. So I really do hope we do see that on there at some point. And special projects team, we've got the HST livery designer functionality, which will be for Train Sim World 2 as well. Train Sim World 3 Class 20 livery designer functionality. Train Sim World 3 and 2 187 audio improvements. A tiny update for Cathcart Circle on Train Sim World 2. These are all now Train Sim World 2. Haberstrecke, Hamburg, Lübeck, including timetable update. Reimer, Austin, Bakerloo timetable, Long Island Railroad, Peninsula Corridor, and Oakville Subdivision, and LGV. They're all going to be having updates on Train Sim World 2. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for the roadmap. That was bloody long. I mean, that was what? Oh my god, 26 minutes. Wow. That took a while, but that was this week's roadmap. So quite a big one. I've said some of the highlight things there, probably the new US route, the new German route, and probably the introduction of Union Workshop, who obviously do have an expertise in Chinese routes and Japanese routes. So yeah, hoping for a Japanese route first, because that would be awesome. But yeah, do put your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of the roadmap? Links can also be found in the description to the Discord, to the PayPal, and to the merch store if you do want to help support the channel. Apart from that, thanks for coming in, and I hopefully will see you next time. See you all. Take care. Bye, guys.